you pace around for a few hours and there's still no word, but that's to be expected if they're supposed to be back around sunrise. But at least kind of helps you take your mind off things a bit.
Do we see
Yeah.
Grail do this?
I guess you probably could, yeah, because you guys are out there long
Uh,
enough.
yeah. If Tessian sees you, he'll be like, Grail! Or, Grail! He, re- he realizes somebody might be sleeping.
Yeah. I look up, acknowledge you guys, and I kind of say, are you guys heading to bed soon?
And Tessian's like, yes, what are you doing out so late?
And I'm kind of just like, I don't think I can sleep right now, so I'm just walking around, taking a walk down memory lane.
And Tessian kind of turns back to Thea and gives her like a 1 second thing. And then I'll jump down, use Featherfall. And
That's so extra. I love it.
it's just unnecessary. But so he'll land and he'll kind of just be like, Grail, is everything all right?
And I say, oh, yeah, everything's all right. Everything's fine. It's just odd being back home. I didn't really expect to be back so soon. And now that I'm here, it feels like I should have come much sooner. I don't know if that makes sense. I've lived here my whole life. I haven't done a whole lot of adventuring, so it's a weird feeling to be here now. And I know my family's not in the best of ways, and I feel a little guilty for leaving. And now that I'm back, I don't know. Just a lot of conflicting thoughts in my head right now. It's all right though.
And just well, if you ever need to talk, I'm here. I don't know that I understand exactly what you're going through, but I've got a big family myself. I can at least understand that. So, I know we come from different places, but I want you to know that you can always talk with me.
And I say, well, thank you, Tessie, and that means a lot. I think now that I've paced around long enough, I'll probably try my hand at getting some rest. Though I'm really curious to know when everyone else will be coming back. I hope everything's all right.
And he kind of, it's almost like he's trying to decide whether he should ask something, and he's like, you're not afraid of going to sleep, are you?
I kind of look at the floor. I kind of like scuff the bottom of my shoe on the ground for a second, and they say, honestly, sleep hasn't been doing me a whole lot of favors lately. I gotta say, it hasn't been very restful, and I'm honestly don't want to have another one of those visions.
And Tessian's like, I understand your. I don't know that I would be looking forward to it either, but you've got to rest, Grail. If something does happen with your father and the others, they're going to need you, and they're going to need you well rested. And who knows, maybe a dream could be helpful in whatever it is that ails them. You don't know. Mm-hmm. I know from what you said, they haven't been good dreams all the time, but if we can change them, then the more we know, the better.
Yeah, there's really no use to me trying to avoid sleep altogether. I mean, that'll eventually kill me. So not a whole lot that can be done. I used to look forward to a good night's rest, and now I don't so much. I gotta say, it's a little stressful, but you're right. I should give it a shot.
He's like, when I was younger, before I understood a lot of things, my mother would deal with a lot of the problems in the city, and you learn quickly as you get older and get a grasp of things that people are the most vocal when things aren't working their way. That's usually when you hear from them about the things you should be doing to fix them. These dreams of yours, I realize it may seem unfortunate that they are so often terrible things or circumstances that we're trying to prevent. But think of them like the universe coming to you with a problem. It won't come to you if things are going fine, but when it's something that maybe we can fix, then that's when you'll hear. So, in a way, it's a good thing. You know, an opportunity, if you will.
I'm hearing you. I hear what you're saying. I'll try to approach it with that perspective. I appreciate it.
And he just sort of, yep, I'm done here, and kind of gives you a pat on the shoulder, and he's like, well, see you tomorrow then. And then he kind of walks over to the roof and uses levitate and floats back up.
I like how you went out the window on the second floor, but you could have done that the whole time. Like.
Mm-hmm. And Thea, as you rise back up over the surface of the second floor there, just kind of shakes her head and she says, show off.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go back to my room and try and get some sleep.
Okay. Tessa heading to bed as well?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's switch back to Group A, or maybe it was Group B the first time. I don't remember.
Hell yeah.
Right now it's the Group A, because that's what I said.
Group awesome.
You guys have gone over and gotten your own cart, and then kind of converged paths with Rollins and his cart, with a bunch of wood and a Gorgon head in the back. And
good.
have kind of gotten to them where they're essentially like side by side, so you're going together and can keep an eye on everything. It's getting late. It's essentially midnight or so as you're starting to head back, so it's certainly going to be keeping you up past your normal hours, but you're not like, excessively tired or anything. Lena, you're a little worse for wear, but not, exhausted or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And as you guys ride along, Rollins, who's pretty content on the path he's heading, since he seems to have done this a few times, kind of turns to Karash and he says, so, you all know my daughter then?
Yes, I have been traveling with Grail for, 2 weeks, I think.
Almost 3, yeah. He says, so, it's good to know she's meeting some folks. You guys get along?
I like her very much.
And he kind of, at this point, Rollins kind of looks over at Isaac, and it's sort of a questioning face of he doesn't understand Karash, so he's not getting much out of him. So he kind of looks over at Isaac with kind of this look of and he kind of nods. He's like, all right, well. And he kind of looks over at the other wagon and he says, and then you, miss, you're unharmed then? You feel all right?
Oh, yes, I do. Thank you.
Well, I should return the thanks, I suppose. I think I could have beaten it out of the woods, but I'm not 100% sure.
Your daughter, she's actually in some pretty prestigious company. This isn't just any shapeshifter. And then I go on to say who it is, Canadus, what we're doing. I figure we have plenty of time, so I go into a lot of detail.
You do, yeah. You have hours. And he's just kind of listening quietly during this. Occasionally he chips in to ask a small question or something, but for the most part he's just happy to hear about what his daughter's been up to and seems generally impressed with the fact that she is keeping such company. He even says kind of towards the end, he's like, I feel like I'm a relatively simple man, but I'm glad that she's found some people that she can trust, that she can travel with to help keep her safe and her for them. And you could see it even back there. You guys can handle yourselves, and so I'm real glad to hear it.
Cord protects us.
And you see him kind of startle out of his seat because it's the first time you've spoken in 45 minutes, and he goes, "Yes, of course. Well, I'm happy for any protection I can get, to be honest. So why not?" It takes another couple of hours, and some of the conversation fades a bit because everybody's getting a bit tired, including the horses. Your guys' horses have been through a hell of a day because they've never really stopped a ton. You held them up at the ranch and they got to eat a bit, but otherwise it was travel to the ranch, travel out here, travel back. And his horses haven't had that much travel, but they were running through a bog much more quickly than they anticipated. So they're both kind of flagging a bit as you guys can sort of see the ranch off in the distance, maybe another half hour out or so. You also can see, because there's not a lot of things prohibiting your view in this area, that the sun is just starting to have some light peek up over the horizon. The sun itself is not there yet, but there's some light returning to the sky, and the stars kind of fade out a bit as you get close to the ranch. He says, so then I guess the rest of your folks, including Grail, are back at the ranch?
Yes. We decided it might be best to have us split off just to make sure you were okay and have everyone stay with your wife. She's very lovely.
And he kind of chuckles at that. He says, well, I know Millie will appreciate the company, so why not, I say. And in fact, I'm almost glad that it wasn't all of you coming, because then she would have been there just wondering what was going on the whole time. Well, we'll have to make sure we get you folks fed and a place to bed down for the night. I'm sure you must be tired. Lord knows I am.
But you're feeling okay, feeling good.
And he kind of, there's like just a slight eyebrow cock at this question now that this is the second time it's happening, but he says, yeah, I mean, scared the dickens out of me a little bit, but got out of there okay. Not really a scratch on me.
Good, that's good to hear.
And then he has a heart attack.
Exactly. That's what we're worried about.
Heart attack falls, character dies.
Yeah, what? That doesn't sound right.
I've got this little cough. Just.
Yeah, the black lung.
Blood.
Right, as I say, it's the Full Metal Alchemist cough.
Little pain
bit of
in my
blood.
left shoulder here.
Yeah, let me just take these 5 steps. I'm sure it'll be fine after I take the 5th one. You guys eventually then pull up to the ranch. He kind of offers to take the other horses and take care of them as well as his own, so that you guys can head inside the house, if you'll let him.
I will. I will thank him, and I'll give him a little bit of assistance if I think he needs it. But if he seems to be doing okay, I'll probably head in with everybody.
Crash, you're shaking your head.
Nope, not letting him go alone. I'm gonna make like I'm doing something with the Gorgon to stick around.
Okay. Isaac?
I'm kind of just, stretching. I don't want to leave him either. I want to make sure he gets in the house. I may just escort him to bed.
You like tuck him in. I could tell you a story.
Kiss his forehead.
Fluff his pillow a little bit for him.
Your little
Oh God, not one of his stories.
Yeah.
And then the gunman went to the land of.
Anyways, that beggar died. So the moral of the story. So anyways, he takes the reins. He guides around the side of the house towards the barn. Make sure the horses are tied up and that they have some food and can rest. And sort of has you guys chip in for help since you followed him there. And then heads into the house, kicks off his shoes, kind of sighs heavily, like, hell of a day. Heads upstairs to go to his room. Anybody going to follow him to his room?
No, not actually. No.
Okay. Before he does direct you in the direction of the other guest bedroom. He directs you in the direction of the guest bedrooms. He doesn't know who's where, but he tells you, nice, comfortable beds in these rooms over here. Should be enough for each of you.
I would, if Grail is still awake at this time, I want to just talk to her really quick. But if she's asleep or not,
I'm asleep.
But all right.
But I'll be waking up soon because if I'm doing chores with my mom, then we should be up pretty soon.
Well, I'm gonna go to bed and sleep in. So we're just gonna have to connect tomorrow.
2 ships passing the night.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine.
So you guys eventually head to bed, and long day, rather tired. Sleep comes pretty easily to all of you. Tessian, you find the bed quite comfortable, and you still have Thea, so all this is feeling nice and familiar, and it's easy to get some sleep. Grail, you're out cold. There's not even a wisdom saving throw to make.
Okay.
Because this is your bed, and it's always been to your liking. It's super soft. You're in a familiar place for once after traveling to all sorts of new and weird experiences that have been fun, but also a bit unsettling. If anything, a couple hours after they get back, when there's a knock on your door, it takes a couple of times before you even hear it, but you do hear the rapping of knuckles on the door.
All right. And I'm very, laboriously get out of bed, and I don't want to, but I do because I need to help my mom. And yep, I'll quickly get dressed, and I will meet her in the kitchen.
Okay. She has a very quick breakfast made up for you, just some eggs and toast, but something that you guys can eat real quick to get your strength up before you head out for what's going to be a couple, maybe 3 hours of not intense labor, but pretty intense.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what you're in for, so you know it's important to eat and get your strength.
Yep, and I do, and I thank her, and we kind of just quietly do that together, like as the sun's coming up, and then we probably head out together.
Yep. And as you're heading over to the barn to get some of the supplies and stuff to get ready for these chores, she says, well, your father returned last night. Seems no worse for wear. I peeked in the doors of the guest rooms, too. Everybody else seemed to be back. I don't know if anything happened or if it was easy, but they're all here.
And I kind of laugh, and I say, I slept so well, I almost forgot. And I'm like, I feel so bad, but I'm really glad to hear that. Pause back, and everyone else came back too.
Yeah.
I know. Hey, I was out cold. I was worried, and then I was asleep. So.
And she says, I wasn't going to knock a third time because, used to be you'd respond to that first one if you weren't already up before I was. But I figured, I don't know, maybe traveling's taking its toll.
Oh, I tell you, Ma, I haven't had a bed this good since I left, and it was very nice, I must say. But I'm here to help, so let's get it done.
So the one thing about the chores is that they take less time than you remember them, and it doesn't take long to put two and two together and realize that, it's because there's just fewer livestock in general. The sheep problem's been documented. There are fewer cows in the barn. There's just the 4 horses, which is still less than you remember, and 2 of them, of course, are your own that you recognize.
Mm-hmm.
But, you spend the next couple of hours picking some things up in the barn and sweeping one area out, feeding the animals, milking the cows, just getting done the stuff that you've kind of gotten used to, and it feels nice to fall back into some form of routine in a sense. Mm-hmm. You've kind of come across your own routine in your travels now, but this is different. This is something that you grew up with. And she kind of makes small talk with you most of the time, but for the most part, especially now that she caught up with you last night, your mom seems mostly content just getting things done and having an extra set of hands because she knows what time her husband got home, and she knows he's not going to be helping much this morning.
Yeah, I know. And I am going to ask, did everything seem all right with Pa? He seemed well?
He told me everything was fine, and he'd tell me more about it in the morning. He seemed really tired, so
Yeah,
I figured
imagine.
if he was back safe and they were fine, I figured, what's the harm in it?
Yeah. All right, that's good enough for me. It's a relief. I'm glad that he returned safely.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like I told you last night. I'm not inclined to think that there was too much of a problem with him, but he does get a little headstrong sometimes, so who knows?
These fucking farmers are too tough for their own good.
I know.
I know.
Gorgon, just a scratch.
I know. I kind of laugh and shake my head, and I'm like, that's Pa for you.
I mean, their house was on fire one time, and they're like,
Yeah.
Chores go smoothly, especially at the very beginning. There's that little bit of having to remember how to ride a bike, but it does not take very long at all for you to be like, okay, I got to do this, and this is the best way to approach that, and all of it comes pretty naturally to you for the remainder of it. And within a couple of hours, really, just as the sun has started to crest over the Pinella Pass to the east where you came from, pretty much everything's done. And she kind of invites you to come back in the house. She says, well, I don't know when folks are going to be stirring this morning, maybe a couple hours more or so. They must have gotten in pretty late, but I suspect we should have a nice meal ready for them when they do.
Sounds good. I'd be happy to help.
Okay. So the two of you head back into the house. Grail, when you head back in, go ahead and make a perception check.
Okay. Oops, that's not
Crash's
it.
face is a troubling one.
Uh-huh. Go. There we are. 15.
Okay. You're kind of in the kitchen, getting things ready, washing your hands, making sure, because you're all dirty from having done chores and stuff. So making sure you're ready to help with breakfast. Your mom hasn't come back.
Oh. Okay.
And it's a beat longer than you're expecting. She wandered off for a moment to get some things, but more than a moment has passed since that has happened.
Where did she go?
She said she was headed to her room to get a couple things.
Right. I am going to. I don't know. I'm not going to call to her because there's people sleeping. I'm going to go up the stairs and kind of just see, because I'm already kind of on high alert. So I'm going to go down the hallway to the near the master bedroom.
You don't really hear anything inside other than the faint snoring of your father.
Okay.
We don't have a cure for sleep apnea in Aramea, so unfortunately he's a bit of a snorer.
Okay.
Don't really hear any noise outside, but you also can't see her from this angle. You might have to get closer to the door to look in to actually see what's going on.
I'm going to. I don't want to be secretive, but also I'm kind of confused. So I'm going to very quietly, I guess, stealth over to the door.
Okay, make a stealth check.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, stealth check your mom.
I know. What? I got a 2, but it's a 12.
Rogues.
I know.
At the very least, even though you're a tad bit on edge, like you mentioned, you know kind of which floorboards to avoid. You know which ones are the creakers, and you're able to kind of quietly sneak your way over to the door. When you look inside, there is this moment of deja vu. You see your mother sitting on the edge of her bed. You see her head in her hands.
No.
Sobbing. You can see with the benefit of not having such tunnel vision from the whatever's going on in your dreams, you can see a lump next to her that you assume is your father snoring away and sleeping. But all of a sudden strikes you as similar to when you came across Holden as I have seen this before, and it's not some people occasionally have dreams where they see something and they go, oh, maybe I had this before. This is too vivid, and this one especially too painted into your retinas to be anything else than what you saw in your vision.
Okay. Immediately, I don't linger. I kind of back away and go back down the stairs. This is her moment to have to herself, and I'm not going to barge in and be like, Mother! No, I'm not going to do that. So I'm gonna kind of quickly leave and go downstairs and kind of pretend I was getting breakfast stuff ready.
Okay.
Are we up yet?
No.
No.
What time is it?
It's 7 a.m. You've been asleep for 2.5 hours.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
No. Aw, that makes me so sad. I mean, it's so much better than I thought, but it still sucks.
If only you'd stuck around for a moment longer.
Well, I mean, I could have, but I didn't.
All right. Well, anyways, you head back downstairs, and a couple more moments pass before she rejoins you, and it doesn't even really take a perception check to notice that her eyes are kind of blotchy, and she's doing her best not to play it up. You can't see that she was crying really, other than the fact that her eyes are a bit red, but you know why that's the case. But she plays it off like nothing happened.
This is tough. I am going to.
Step out of the room.
No, yeah, bye. No.
Where's my daughter?
I'm going to try and get her attention so that she'll look at me in the eyes. I don't know if she will. I don't know if she's avoiding eye contact, but I'm gonna try and be hey, bitch, over here.
Hey,
no,
you.
No, I'm gonna just be hey, Ma.
She does look up at you, and you can confirm that she was crying. She again doesn't really take any attempt to hide it, maybe because she's worried that calling attention to it's just going to make it more noticeable. You're not really sure, but
I kind of launch myself at her and just give her a really, really strong hug.
She seems surprised for a half second, but she returns it. She says, "What's all this then?"
And I kind of am still holding her, but my face is near her ear, I'm guessing, and I just say, I'm sorry. Is there anything I can do? I feel so bad about being here, and I'm gonna have to leave again, and you seem so sad, Ma.
There's just like the faintest quiver in her voice when she talks to you, and that you can pick up on it only because you know her so well. But she says, "Well," she kind of got this like deep exhale. It's just been a lot, you know. And I try not to show it to your pa because he worries about this stuff, but the ranch gets by. Again, I meant it when I said we're doing okay, but there's no denying the fact that things were better 3 months ago, and they're not that anymore. And I don't know. I worry about your pa. I worry about your brother. Pa might have gotten into some trouble. Your brother's definitely in some trouble. The other brother's gone. I miss him a lot. You've been out of our lives for a couple months now, and I don't mean to make you feel guilty about that in any way, but the fact remains it's been an awful lot to take in, you know?
I know. What can I do? What do you want me to do?
She says, well, your pa made it back safely. That would help us fix a couple of the bad fences. Because we're not really worried about the sheep getting out, but we're always worried about stuff getting in.
Mm.
That's one of our biggest problems right now. We can't afford to lose anything else, you know?
Mm-hmm.
From there, it's just a matter of time. I mean, we fixed up the house and some other stuff best we can, and this lumber he's gotten will help with any other repairs that need to be done, but now it's just a matter of getting through this summer and making it to where maybe we can have some of these sheep breed and start to rebuild a bit.
And of course, I offered to like help with the fences and stuff like today. I don't actually know what our plan is, but I don't care. I just go ahead and say like I'm going to make sure that everything is accounted for and they feel comfortable with me leaving before I go again.
Okay. And she says, well, I don't want to put you out. If you have places to be, I understand, but I suppose we can see when the others are awake.
I suppose, but honestly, I care more about to make sure that your needs are met than to just leave again. I can't do that to you and to Pa. I refuse.
She says, well, sometimes when I think about Holden, I wonder if we screwed up raising y'all, but then you say something like that, and maybe we did okay.
Well, we are stubborn, the light ghosts.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
And I kind of have had like I still kind of had her like hands on her shoulders kind of a thing as we were talking, and then I like pull her back into another hug, and I'm kind of like tightly hold her there, and I get pretty emotional, honestly. Like, I'm not crying, but I feel like if I hold her there long enough, I will. So I kind of like do it as long as I can, and then I pull away.
And she kind of does like the whole like, you know, slap herself in the cheeks thing, like briefly wipes her eyes. She says, well, this is a sight to be seen, isn't it?
I know. And I'm kind of like doing the same thing, and I just kind of say, it's all right, Ma. You're going through so much, and you are the strongest person I know. And I say that with no question in my mind. But there's a lot on your shoulders, and I want to make it as light as possible.
Well, I appreciate it. Let's talk it over with your pa when he gets up, and we'll see what can be done, if you can even stay, and if not, I understand.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do.
Now, that butter's not going to churn itself.
I know. It's always my least favorite chore, but I'll get to it.
Well, do it once for old time's sake. What do you say?
All right.
Tessie and you and Thea wake up not too long after this, feeling nice and rested and refreshed, and everything's great.
You know, gonna hang out in bed for a while, I think. I don't think Tessie has a reason to get up.
Yeah, not that you know of.
And, you know, I'm sure if they need us, they'll come get us.
Thea, like, rolls over. She's like, I agree.
It hasn't. They've interrupted me plenty of times. I'm sure they'll do it again.
This is also true. It's more like noon, maybe just shy of noon, when the rest of you finally come to consciousness, which is late. You really haven't had a lot of mornings where you slept in over the course of your journey for the last 3 weeks or so, but your body clearly needed it this time because that was a long and arduous day yesterday. But the three of you wake up.
I throw open the door. I stumble out. No shirt. Bedhead. And I say, Rollins, how is he doing?
Oh, God. Good.
And the ghost of Rollins responds. Ooh. You hear a voice come from the kitchen. It says, well, I reckon he's still sleeping. This is, Grail, you can see this is your mother responding.
Yeah.
I mean, but you're welcome to check on him. He doesn't really like being moved much in the morning.
Which is his room?
It's upstairs, down the hallway, straight ahead.
I stumble up the stairs and I check on him. Is he still snoring?
Well, yes, he is. I'll say it a little more quietly. You don't know the difference, but
right.
he is snoring a little less quietly than he was before.
I'm very relieved. And I walk downstairs, noticeably calmer.
And when you do, I turn and I say, good morning. And then I also kind of give you a look like we're fine kind of a thing. Like, we're good. We don't have to stress about this right now.
Oh, you think so, do you? Clearly not picking up on the hint. And I gesture for you to follow me.
And
I
I
have
kind
something
of like,
to show you.
okay. And I put down whatever I'm preparing and I walk over to you.
I take you outside to the carriage.
Okay. Yeah.
And I want to do dramatic effect, but like, is there there's a door that I can like open, right? On the carriage, or would she just look inside? Like, how does that work?
It's not. It's like a wagon. It's not a. There's
Well,
not really
I
dramatic
just-
effect here. I'm sorry.
Not dramatic. I close. I cover her eyes. No, not really.
Peekaboo.
I just say when we saw, I don't know what your father told your mother, or if you know what happened last night, but when
No.
we found your father in the heart of the worst forest I've ever been to, he was being chased by this, and I point to the head of the Gorgon.
I go, ah! Like, I actually, like, jump back, and I'm like, that's hideous. I don't think I've ever seen one of those, right, Chris? No. Okay. Oh, what?
And if it looks bad, trust me, it is far worse fighting it.
You
Lena
killed
was
it.
turned to stone, petrified.
God.
That's a thing that happened too.
What was my pa doing there? I'm kind of like mad. I get kind of like, and it's like, he's gone into those woods before. I was never allowed to go in them myself, but I didn't realize things like this were living in there.
Yeah, for good reason. Your pa had antidote to petrification just on him. Just in case something like this happens. Just aware of what he could find, and he took precautions.
I mean, what can I say? We ranch folk, we're prepared for anything.
I don't think anyone is understanding the magnitude of what just happened, so I will spell it out. I think we changed the future. We did it. Your pa, this creature was bearing down on him, and we stopped it.
And I kind of pause and I say, I saw my vision this morning come to fruition.
Yeah, no, wait, what? But your pa is fine. I heard him snore.
I know, but that's the thing. In my dream, I didn't hear any snoring. It was just my ma crying, which I did see this morning with Pa in bed next to her. It's kind of a long story. I think she's just overwhelmed with the stresses of life right now, and the ranch not doing well, and I think she just broke down. That's what I saw. But I think there's something to what you just said. I don't recall snoring in my original dream. But that doesn't mean it wasn't there. It could have just been that I was focused on the one thing. At any rate, this is good news.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be anything but good news. Okay, maybe we didn't necessarily change the future, or maybe we did. We don't know, but
No.
I can't be disappointed at the fact that your pa is alive and well, and no one else in the family seems worse for wear.
Yeah, you're telling me it was a big. I mean, I feel awful about leaving my family, and I know it's really stressful for my mom, especially. But this is the best case scenario we could have hoped for. They're okay. Things they're being kept afloat. It's so much better than I could have anticipated. I'm so grateful.
Actually, this is interesting. And if there's any sheep around, I will pet them as I think. It's actually
They're in the pen. Remember?
maybe if one got loose, I'll pet it.
So that one pesky sheep.
I will say, this is good. You saw the vision in a way that means that we've come to the point. We don't have to wait and
Yeah.
find out that it was next week that some terrible tragedy befalls. We've reached the point, and we
Right.
seem to have averted tragedy. Hopefully,
Right. My concern was that we would leave and be like, oh, everything's fine. We'd leave and then something awful would happen. So I'm glad that, at least for now, and I didn't have any visions last night, so maybe things are all right. That said, Isaac, I think my family needs help. I don't know if leaving right away is the best idea.
well, I understand. I think the decision is up to you, but I think you have the potential to play a much greater role and for good, and it's up to you. Do you stay and be with your family? I of course understand that the pool that you have to do that, or do you leave and be part of something greater? And you have to be the one to answer that.
I know. I mean, honestly, I just meant in terms of like an extra day to help them put up fences.
Okay.
And well, and I say that honestly, there's guilt that goes far beyond just staying an extra day. I do feel like my presence here would make things so much easier for the both of them. But from what my mom was saying, I don't think she wants me to go. Or sorry, I don't think she wants me to stay. I think she wants me to go. I think oddly enough, she mentioned that Holden's been sending them a whole lot of money about my share and his together. So they're able to be staying afloat. I know it's a lot for them. At the same time, they never asked for me to stay. And I actually agree with you, Isaac. I think there's a bigger role that I could play.
And I kind of like put my hand up, and I'm like, next time I am you can feel me getting geared up for a profound speech. Just stop me if you mean one day as opposed to the rest of time. There's no reason we can't stay one additional day. No one in this group will have a problem with that.
I laugh and I say, I don't know. It was kind of amusing to hear you talk about all that. But I know we've been kind of on a deadline and a tight schedule, and I feel like turning around and leaving today would not be as beneficial for my family. I think there's a lot of good we can do to put them in a good spot that we can leave, and I can leave without feeling so much guilt.
Growing up as a noble, I don't have a lot of handiwork experience, so I'm ready to learn. I think we can knock out some good projects.
Could Tessian hear, like, is Tessian's window on roughly the side of the place while Isaac's out yelling about things?
No.
Okay.
And I am talking at a measured level.
Yeah.
If
You
you
were
So
not
as
when you were
to-
yelling at the.
if you had been on the right side of the house, you might have had a shot at your father.
Oh, yeah.
But you're on the wrong side of the house. Sorry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
nope.
You know, the profound speeches are getting better. I think once I lost the accent, it really helped.
And I kind of like pat his shoulder and I'm like, I think you're completely right, Isaac.
I think so. I need to put on some clothes. And I turn and I walk in the house.
It is a bit chilly.
Yeah.
As you are finishing
and
up this
they come in.
conversation, you hear a voice from inside the house, and most of you now recognize at this point because you've been in conversation with her. But it's Millicent, and all you hear from her, Grail, and everybody else is, "You did what?" And that's where we'll leave off this time.
I think she found out.
Yeah.
So next time, life on the farm, an idyllic time spent with sheep and the basic life, and then we'll see what the party wants to do next. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on the Anachroschism.
Bye.